Dr. Green.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. Before I take your questions, I want to ask your help one more time. You were excellent in helping with the attendance issue, and I'm hoping you will help us with the Labor Day challenge. This year hasn't been perfect. We've managed COVID impacts of either a student or staff diagnosis at 20 schools. With the holiday weekend in front of us, I'm asking all of our students and all of our families to please continue to follow good health practices over the weekend. Our goal is to keep our schools fully functional throughout the year and to keep as many children and staff as possible fully engaged in their classes and instruction. It really takes all of us to do their part, both in school and at home, for us to achieve that goal. This weekend, please avoid crowds, keep social distancing, and wear those face coverings. I'm so proud of our students, our staff, and our families for the way that we have started this school year out. We didn't expect perfection, but right now it is manageable, and our students are doing what we are asking of them. If everyone continues to do their part, hopefully we can continue to have a productive school year. Now, I'll be glad to take your questions.
You spoke about the holiday weekend and sort of the implications there, that there might be travel, there might be large groups, there might be events. Is there any protocols for returning from the holiday weekend to start the school week back? Is there any advice you give families to sort of self-check any extra after this holiday weekend?
I encourage our families and our employees. Our employees already do a morning self-check, either before they come to their work site or when they arrive at their work site. And I encourage families to do the same. Again, if you have a family member that has COVID or you've tested for COVID, please do not come to school. The more we are being proactive, the less chance we have for COVID to spread in our schools. So we will continue with our protocols with the temperature checks when students and staff arrive. We'll continue with the cleaning, students, everyone wearing masks. We're going to continue our protocols, but we're encouraging our families to be very vigilant over this holiday weekend.
Can you speak at all about the COVID-19 Dashboard? I know that's sort of an ongoing discussion. What's the status right now with that?
Yes, our dashboard is going to go live. We've been given verbal permission that we can post our dashboard, and our goal is to have it live between this evening and Tuesday morning.
Dr. Green, when that does go live, are we going to see it basically giving the same information that it was prior when it was?
It will look differently than the dashboard prior to DOH requesting that we bring it down. Our goal is to use more of a graphic type of presentation, and so that's what it will be.
So is it going to go by schools?
Yes, parents will be able to filter it by schools.
Not many DCPS football games happening tonight, but we're going to see that in the next week. What are you looking at with regards to sports and that also sort of? I mean, I know there's stadium capacity, but what's the thinking there? Any advice for people who want to go out and see these games either tonight or next weekend?
Our first football game starts next week, I believe September 10th, and then the bulk of our games will be September 11th. We've sent out a press release. We will only utilize 30% capacity of our stadiums. We have worked with our police department and our high school principals. They've collaborated, and we will have strict protocols. People will be required to wear their facial coverings. We'll have temperature checks. So we believe that we are prepared for our sports, and we talk about football, but we also have volleyball starting, and those same strategies will be applied to all of our fall sports.
Dr. Green, could you update us? I believe you had said 20 schools impacted right now. Can you update us just on numbers right now?
Currently, today, we've had only one case that I'm aware of that was reported. 20 schools have been impacted. Total numbers, I started tracking, and then I thought about, hey, let's use the dashboard. I don't need to track it any further. So what I'll probably be doing every day is checking it in the morning and then checking it later. But I don't have those total numbers. I know that it's been less than, I believe, 25 cases for the school district. I believe there was a reporting that there were 24 cases starting since the beginning of August in Duval. That includes private school, charter schools. The data we're keeping track of is our traditional public schools.
And you had said at Tuesday's board meeting as well that the majority were elementary students. I wonder if you could talk to that, and I know that the hybrid model ties into that as well.
Yes, currently our reopening plan has the hybrid model coming to conclusion on September 14th, that all schools would go to a 5-day-a-week model. Next week we'll be reviewing that, because in our reopening plan we indicated we will evaluate the week of September 8th, and that's the process we're going to follow to see if we feel we need to make adjustments to that hybrid model or implement as stated on our reopening plan.
At this point, do you feel, does DCPS plan to ask the state to extend the hybrid model?
At this point, we are reviewing our data, and next week we will make that final decision whether we're going to request the Department of Education to allow us to continue or make adjustments to that hybrid model.
I know right now it's not allowed for elementary school students. Could it be a possibility that it extends for the elementary schools, since that's where some of the cases seem to be coming out of?
Well, currently our reopening plan stated that elementary would open 5 days a week, and they're not on a hybrid. So we are continuing to monitor our elementary schools. We're very fortunate to have the rapid response team working with the Department of Health, and we are able to address those situations very quickly. So at this point, we'll continue moving forward with our elementary model.
I know there's been some issues with technology, specifically for some of those hybrid students. The district says, they never guaranteed that technology would be given to some of those families. Is there any plan moving ahead, or any kind of change in message to some of those families who might now need help with that technology moving forward?
Our schools are moving forward with providing technology for our students in the hybrid model. This past week, we've already delivered over 500 laptops, whether that's laptops and hotspots. We are continuing to work with our families on the hybrid. If we continue to move forward with the hybrid, we're going to ensure that all students can be successful.
It's been such an uncertain time overall for everyone in the school district, as you're well aware. I wonder if you could just talk to reopening so far, how you feel it's been going, and if you want to talk about teaching staff, and I know that there's been a lot of efforts, and teachers are having to do a lot that they did not have to do before.
Absolutely. As I said in my opening statement, it hasn't been perfect. We've had hills and valleys to overcome with COVID-19, this impact. So when you think about it, I think we've done a phenomenal job. No, we've not been perfect, but we are in a perfect storm dealing with the start of school. We're in a pandemic. We're also trying to prepare for flu season, and I would encourage families, if you haven't gotten your flu shot, please do so. We offer free flu shots for our students, so when that permission slip comes home, I encourage them to sign it so that our students can get their flu shots. And we're still in hurricane season, and we always have to be on our guard to be prepared to pivot for whatever situation is arising for us to deal with. And next week we start with athletics. So our staff has been phenomenal in addressing every issue that's come before us. And we simply have one priority: to ensure that our staff and students can learn in the safest environment possible. And we are putting every strategy, every protocol in place to address that.
About rapid testing that was available for staff and now students, how's that going? Do you have numbers on any on participation for that?
Our rapid testing for staff is going really well. I do not have total numbers, but I can tell you through the rapid tests, we've had less than 5 teachers or employees. I shouldn't just say teachers because it's open to all of our employees to have a positive test. So many, many more of those rapid tests are coming back negative. So we are being proactive. Again, if you feel any of those symptoms, all they have to do is get that form filled out and go to any one of the sites that we have available for our staff.
You mentioned 5 have come back positive, or is that just an estimation?
An estimation. I know it's less than, it's in single digits.
Okay.
I wonder if you can talk to any of the challenges that have presented themselves as we've gone into the school year. Maybe, I know there's probably been some, but with social distancing, for example, or with masks, you can talk to that and kind of what it's taken to overcome.
Yeah. Yeah, we will always have challenges when you're talking about social distancing and mask. And that's one of the beauties of the hybrid is that we have less students on our secondary campuses. I constantly talk about our largest high school, Sandalwood, close to 3,000 students. And with the hybrid, he only has a little over 1,500 students on the campus each day. And that's a huge campus. The challenge is things like lunch. Where are they all going? If you're keeping 6 feet apart, our cafeteria is not going to hold that number of students. So those are the things that we struggle with of ensuring how do we keep our students as safe as possible, but at the same time knowing that we are social beings, that they want to talk to their friends, and so that's why this is so important. For our older students, this really hasn't been a problem, but for our little ones, our pre-K, kindergarten, first graders, I visit schools quite frequently, and I was at Ocean Way Elementary this week, and to see those little kindergartners with their mask on, and yes, the teacher does have to probably constantly say, hey, pull your mask up, make sure you have it above your nose, and those are the kinds of things that are challenges that teachers have in the back of their mind, that they want to continue to make sure that they're providing a high quality education, but now they have this other layer of things that they have to worry about, doing the frequent hand washing, keeping them spaced apart, them wearing their masks. So those are I would like to say those are the normal challenges, but those aren't normal. But this year, that's becoming a normal part of our routine.
On Wednesday, there was under 1,000 students now that are still unaccounted for. Do you guys have any update to that number now at the end of the week?
That number really won't come out until much later this afternoon, but we know that we will still be under our enrollment. I'm very confident that the schools are doing everything possible to locate students, or many times we're finding out parents have chosen to do homeschool, or they've moved out of the district and we haven't received their information. But the staff has done a phenomenal job. Believe it or not, on the first day of school, we were down over 22,000 students, and now we're just down to maybe a couple of thousand students at this time.
For the dashboard that is going to go live either this evening or next Tuesday in between, who did you guys get permission from to be able to do that? Because I know originally the Department of Health said it was a privacy concern.
The Department of Health verbally told us that we could post our dashboard. And as you can see around the state, other school districts have started posting their dashboards.
How does that tie into the goal of transparency here, which I know has been big for you guys?
Well, for me, it's very important that we are letting our community know what's happening in our schools. And by being transparent, hopefully parents feel confidence to send their children to school, that we're going to notify them when there's been an issue. Even though the dashboard has been down, if a case happens at a school, that school community is given a call that evening to let them know that there's been a case at their school. If they're individually impacted, they're given a personal phone call and a letter from the Department of Health. So even though the dashboard wasn't posted for our entire community, those school communities that were impacted, we were keeping them in the loop.
And I guess I wondered too, one thing I wanted to ask about the upcoming September 14th deadline. If the district does not extend the hybrid I know the plan is to phase those students back in 5 days a week. Could those students choose to go fully virtual at this point, or are they pretty much just going to have to be phased?
September 14th, families have the opportunity to change from virtual to full-time in brick and mortar. I think a few weeks ago, we reported that over 40,000 students had signed up for Duval Homeroom, and at the last school board meeting, that number was down to about 29,000 students. So as you can see, they are making transitions, whether they were once on Duval Homeroom, now to brick and mortar, and we've had some students that were in brick and mortar that have made the transition to Duval Homeroom. Each school will work with their school community about transitioning, whether brick and mortar or Duval Homeroom.
I just talked to the Duval Department of Health about the flu coming up. With flu and then also COVID-19, of course, that causes some concerns. What are your thoughts, especially for those students as far as, the flu vaccine goes? That's coming up soon.
I encourage parents to take advantage of that because we offer flu shots on our campuses. So our students have the opportunity to get their flu shot while they're at school, but that permission slip goes home. Parents must agree to the flu shot, and then it's administered at school. So I highly encourage parents to take advantage of this opportunity.
We've been hearing from some teachers about some of their classrooms they say are a little bit too full, or saying that social distancing isn't really possible in their classrooms. Is there a concern that once those secondary students are all full back in their buildings 5 days a week, is that going to create a more of an issue with regards to class sizes?
If their classroom was full during hybrid, it doesn't change even if we go back to 5 days a week, because the goal of the hybrid was the number of students on campus, not the number of students in a classroom. So if their classroom had 25 students during hybrid, their classroom will still have 25 students during 5 days a week, because the number of students doesn't change how the scheduling is done. That is why it's so important that our students are wearing their face masks, our employees are wearing their face masks, because we knew there would be classrooms where we could not social distance students of 6 feet or more.
Obviously, teachers are so used to giving out grades. How would you grade yourself? How would you grade the district? Now looking up almost 2 weeks since everything began.
Well, actually, I would grade the district an A, but talk about COVID is a completely unreliable, invalid test for anyone to say, I'm going to give you a grade on how you're dealing with COVID-19. But our district really has stepped up to the plate, whether it's from the school board down to the classroom and our schools. They really have stepped up in a very stressful time, and our families have stepped up. We're starting to get phone calls that says, my child is sick, so I don't want to send them to school. Please just send the work. We're starting to hear from our families that, hey, we want to now come back. We see what you're doing in the schools. We see that you're taking every precaution. You are taking this seriously. You can see that from the numbers from Duval Homeroom. It goes from 40,000 down to 29,000. But I still encourage families, if you're not comfortable coming to brick and mortar, you need to be in Duval Homeroom, or if DVIA, if you plan on being out for the entire school year.
At the beginning of the year, there were a bunch of technology issues with Duval Home. It was a kind of a rocky start. What's the status of that now? Is that fully resolved moving forward?
You're always going to have technology issues, but the issue that we had on the first day of school has been resolved. Anytime that you are doing online instruction with in our case, over 30,000 students, and on hybrid, that would take it up to over 60,000 students, there are going to be hiccups. But because of the expertise of our CIO and our IT department, they have been on every issue, fixing it as quickly as possible. But I can tell they are doing it because my emails do not blow up about I'm having technology issues.
We've been hearing from some parents that they're not receiving the notification that their child came in close contact with somebody who tested positive, they're not getting that until several days later. Is that normal, or is that just the normal process of notification?
That would be a process with DOH when the contact tracing is quite complicated. And anytime you're dealing with a middle or a high school, it becomes quite complicated. You have 7 different periods to check. You have to figure out, were they on the bus? You have to figure out, who did they eat next to in the cafeteria? What activities are they engaged with? So I'm thinking of a very specific case that it did take a few days for DOH and our rapid response team to narrow down the exact contact that the individual had. And we want to ensure that we're notifying families correctly and making sure that if you are on that list, an epidemiologist through the Department of Health has to go through all of that information to determine who should be excluded from school and who can remain at school. So yes, it can. An elementary setting is much easier. They're generally with one class, but when you're talking about secondary students, you have a number of locations that you have to go and follow what that student or teacher is telling you about the particular case.
I wonder if you feel, since we began this process of reopening and going back to the summer when we started talking about this, I wonder if you feel the state has given the district enough autonomy to make choices here, whether it be in-person learning, whether it be the dashboard. We've seen orders and directives from the state. I wonder if you could just touch on that.
Well, whether I feel that they've given us enough autonomy, I feel that we are making the very best decisions for our community. When we are not in agreement, we work to get to that point where we can be partners in doing what's best for our students and our community. This dashboard is going to go live, and that came about, a comprehensive conversation between the district and DOH, and so now it's going live. We had our reopening plan. It's been a conversation back and forth. We'll continue to have that conversation. But again, our number one priority is to ensure our students can receive a high quality education in a safer and safe environment.
Are there any changes you made that you might think will become permanent part of schooling due to COVID-19?
I don't know that we can give you an answer of this will be a permanent change. Maybe cleaning, the use of the antimicrobial solution, that we will continue to do that even when this is over, because it's just a good practice. It's, there are other diseases that students can get by touching surfaces, such as the flu, and we think that is a good practice that we may need to continue.
I'm looking at the pediatric COVID-19 report for Duval. It says the percent positivity is 11.4%. Is that in the range that you're comfortable with right now? Obviously, 0% would be 100% comfort, but what do you think about that number of percent positivity among 18 and younger?
Yes, well, the concern I have is that the data is not disaggregated. That data includes whether a student is in private school, charter school, traditional public schools. The percentage, no, is not where I would be comfortable. What I am comfortable with for Duval County Public Schools is that we have a strategy and procedure in place in how to support not only the person that is diagnosed with COVID-19, but all the students that may have been in prolonged contact with that student or staff member.
Can you speak at all about when a student or a staff member is asked to quarantine? I understand that the district has some sort of procedure to do wellness checks or follow-ups or communicate with that person. Can you speak at all if that is accurate and if what that process is like?
That main function belongs to the Department of Health. They are the ones who follow up with the individual. We just provide support. If they need our rapid response team to intervene, then we will, but that mainly is under the Department of Health.
with all of the attention that's been on schools in recent weeks and months, I wonder if you could just talk to how has this crisis really highlighted teachers and the education environment and the importance of schools for children and how that impacts all of us?
This crisis has truly highlighted the importance of our educators. Many families that, as I stated, that started off with Duval homeroom are sending students back, and a lot of that is tied to who's standing in front of them. Our teachers are now helping students through this crisis. They're trying to be there for them when they themselves may be struggling with this crisis, but they are still coming each day. Many of them are excited about being there. That's why I'm trying to spend as much time as I can in schools, letting them know that I'm here to support them. We have an EAP system that will support our employees, but I'm just amazed at their resiliency. Normally we talk about the students' resiliency, but I'm equally amazed about our employees' resiliency, because this isn't over. And yet they're coming every day and they're focused on instruction. The one thing I would like to share, I received an email from a teacher that I visited her classroom, and she was doing something unique with her students. It was only the second day of school, and she felt compelled to write me and said, Dr. Green, you came in my classroom. I need you to come back because today we were just dealing with some things on review. I really have other lessons that I really like you to come see. She was more concerned about the quality of her instruction she was delivering, instead of, I was more concerned about, are the protocols being followed, and to have that kind of passion that even in the midst of a pandemic, her number one priority was ensuring she was providing high quality education to her students.
How does that make you feel in the position you're in?
Well, it tugged at my heart. And I wrote her back and thanked her and said, you need to invite me back when you have that perfect lesson that you want me to see. But I felt you were doing an outstanding job. It lets me know that, yes, we will have ups and downs. Yes, we will make mistakes. Yes, there will be things that will frustrate our families, that will frustrate our employees. But at the heart of it, we're all just trying to do the right thing. We're all just trying to ensure that, again, we're providing a high quality education for our students in the safest way possible.
Baseline testing is going to be, I guess, being done this semester. There are some issues there with regards to like academic content, particularly for those who are distance learning. How is that going to be handled from a standpoint of teacher monitoring a student taking a test virtually?
Actually, our teachers can monitor the 25 students at a time. If they were doing it virtually, the teacher can monitor it. But we also offer those families, especially at secondary, because no one is at school on Wednesday. Well, when I say no one, there are no students at school on Wednesday of the hybrid, that they could choose to come in and do their testing inside the school. So some families have chosen to take advantage of coming to the school. Other families have stated, I'd like to do it online, and we've allowed that either way.
And guys, I promised Dr. Green we'd be out at 2:30. We're pretty much at that point, so I think this is a good place to cut it off. Great questions, great conversation. Appreciate you coming. Thank you, Dr. Green.
Thank you.
Dr. Green,
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.